Welcome to A Shot of Ag. I'm your host, Rob Sharkey. Do you believe everybody deserves a voice? How does everybody get to have a voice, and can a farm be included? Well, today's guest is going to tell us all about what she thinks. Elizabeth Nielsen, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. You're from Kaneville.
Kaneville, Illinois, yep.
Up by Chicago?
Yep, about 60 miles from Chicago.
Is it a suburb?
So it's like right on the edge of the suburbs right there. So like it's
Gotcha.
like the last train stop to get to Chicago.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you for driving.
Yeah.
We interviewed you on our XM radio show, and I'm really glad you came down here because what you're doing is amazing. And we like to have amazing people.
Well, thank you.
Now, is that where you grew up, as Kaneville?
I actually grew up in Plainfield, so a suburb of Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you are the owner of Tiny Voice Therapy.
Yes.
Okay, so what is that?
So Tiny Voice Therapy is a pediatric speech-language pathology clinic. It's
Wow.
a long title. I opened up in 2014, part-time, just doing a lot of home visits for my clients. I specialize in working with autistic kids that are non-speaking, so it was great to get into the home and work with the child and their families and their siblings and figuring out how to help them. And I knew eventually I wanted to incorporate horses into my practice.
Okay,
So,
why?
yeah, you would think like, why
Did
why
you just
horses?
like horses? Or like, yeah, we can merge the two?
Right, yeah. My oldest sister has disabilities, and my mom wanted to find a therapeutic riding place for my sister to ride at. And so in middle school, I started taking horseback riding lessons at that facility and kind of fell in love with it that way. So I just saw, just with the clientele at that farm, just what horses can do. And so that's why I wanted to start incorporating horses into my practice. And so kind of looking around at lots of different farms for years and years and years, and finally found the place in Kaneville in 2019, so.
Okay, well, let's go back to why you got into speech therapy.
Yeah. I really enjoyed, like when I was younger, I really enjoyed teaching. I wanted to maybe be a teacher.
Really?
Kinda, yeah.
You have to deal with kids then.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
gosh, yeah.
And then I really liked the medical side of things, so I always thought like nursing too. My mom was a preschool paraprofessional, and so she was like, hey, come to the school and observe some speech therapists. And that was back in middle school, and just kind
Oh.
of fell in love with it, and then kind of helped them out in high school and kind of just went
You stuck
from there.
with it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, generally, you get, even in high school kids, they change their mind,
Yeah.
which is fine.
Yeah.
But you, from then on, that's what you were going to do.
Yeah, I was set on it. And I liked the field because there's so many different avenues you can get into. So if you get bored in one area, you can just kind of work with adults or work with, in the schools or work in a hospital. So there's so many different avenues that you can go into with the field. But knowing I wanted to like incorporate the horses,
Yeah.
having that passion with that, I think that's kind of helped kind of stick around for a little bit.
Did you go to school for it?
Yep, so I went to undergrad and grad school at Northern Illinois University.
Oh, couldn't get into a real school? I'm sorry. I'm just joking. It's a great school.
It is, yeah, it's a great program.
So you went there with the understanding that this is what you wanted to do when you got out.
Yeah.
Okay. And they have a program for that?
So yeah, it's specifically for speech language pathology. In undergrad, I knew I got certified for therapeutic horseback riding, which is different from what I'm doing with the horses now.
Okay.
But my mom and I both got certified, and so that kind of helped pave the way then for incorporating the horses into my practice.
Well, say, like 2014 is when you started the business, right? Like, how old were you? How far were you out of college?
So I graduated with my master's in 2012. So
So you jumped.
You
jumped in right to owning your own business.
Yeah, yeah.
That's intimidating for not just a young person, but for anybody.
Yeah. There was a class in grad school, and my project was to talk about owning your own private practice, because it's
Yeah.
really not talked about in the master's program anyways. And I knew that I wanted to like get that in that route eventually. So I think that kind of helped pave the way for opening up my practice. And I had really good support too from a private clinic that I was working for part-time, and they were very supportive of like helping me as well.
Okay, but instead of going to people's houses, wanted horses,
Yes.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
so you're looking for a farm. Again, you're young, but you do find one, right?
Yes.
Then tell me what happens.
So we moved to Kaneville in 2019. I had the barn built. There wasn't a barn on there, so I had it
Okay.
built at the end of 2020 and started using it to use with the horses, with the speech therapy. Because the horses movement is just so great for the clients that I work with. It's so regulating for them.
How's that?
So a lot of the times, like the clients that I work with can have either like a high arousal nervous system where they're constantly in a fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
And the movement of the horse can be kind of like therapeutic itself. Just the movement is so regulating and it's constant and consistent. And so the more that we can regulate our nervous system, our language part of the brain kind of turns on. So when we're dysregulated, that part of the brain just shuts off. It's hard to communicate. So I've heard lots of first words on the horse from my
Really?
clients. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, okay, I'm trying to put myself in a parent's position, right? You have an autistic kid, and they take them to you on a horse, and you're hearing the first word. That has to be like, I don't even know how you describe a moment like that.
It's emotional.
Yeah.
It really is. And then you just kind of see a connection even with the child and the horse. And it's nice that the parents can even be there for that moment. Because if you work in a school setting, the parents aren't there. And so it's
Yeah.
really great. It's, a very emotional experience for everyone.
Is it intimidating at all? Because I mean, horses are, that's a big animal. I don't know, sometimes they get spooky. My wife's horse, I don't know, I stay away from it, right? Because you never know.
Right.
And now you're having kids with autism by there. I mean, is there
Yeah.
ever concern?
So what's really nice that I'm really close to Northern Illinois University, so I get a lot of grad students that are going into the field that intern with me. So I actually get a lot of help. So when we're doing the session, I'm standing next to the kid holding on to, they have like a belt that they're wearing.
Okay.
So I'm holding on to them while someone else is leading the horse, and then I might have the parent walk on the other side of the client. So we have lots of help if there's ever an emergency, like we can just pull them right off if we need to. So there is definitely that concern, but there's enough safety procedures in place to help.
Help me
reduce
understand, like the nonverbal autism kids. So I'm Gen X, right? So I remember Rain Man, right?
Yeah.
That was my introduction into autism, and he never changed, right? Now, can these kids with autism, I mean, can they improve?
Yeah, and that's what we're seeing too with just being in like a natural setting on a farm. There's a spectrum, and it's not a linear spectrum. It's not low versus high-end autism. It's actually circular, so they might have more needs in sensory, where they might need to help regulate their system a little bit more, or they might have higher needs in communicating, where they are non-speaking, but then we use communication devices, so it's like a computer, and they push the button and it says the word for them. And so
They know, they understand that.
Yeah, so that's where we kind of come in, and we do a lot, like we use the device a lot because it's like learning a new language.
Yeah.
So like in order to learn Spanish, let's just say, like you have to be speaking Spanish and listening to it. So the more that we're using the device, the more then they can kind of recognize like, oh, my voice has power. Like this is, I have that connection of like, if I say something on the device, something happens, that cause and effect.
Yeah.
And so like with on the horse, we have like a pillow set up where they can have access to the device, because if it's like tucked away, that they can't say anything. So we've kind of built this little system where they can access their communication device the whole session.
So I remember my kids when they're learning how to talk, and they're just babbling on until they wanted something. And then all of a sudden, the most clear word in the world is cookie, right?
Yeah.
They know how to do that.
Yeah.
So are they enjoying this horse? I mean, do they enjoy it to the fact where Is that how their mind is working? That they're enjoying this so much that like that first word comes out?
Yeah, and that's what we try to do at Tiny Voices, create like a sense of safety and connection. If those things aren't there, then language isn't going to happen. So we hear those first words because they feel that sense of safety, they feel that connection, and then their nervous system is regulated enough where then they can, it's like turning on their brain of like, now I can communicate because I'm regulated enough to take in what I'm hearing and then try and speak it or say it on the device.
Why are you so nice?
I don't know.
Hey, seriously, I mean, what you do, it's got to be frustrating at times. It's got to be incredibly frustrating. I mean, I'm sure you were very smart. You could probably go off and make a boatload of money elsewhere. I mean, why are you doing it?
I just care so passionately about the clientele that I work with because I feel like they just don't get a choice or a chance in the world. They're not speaking, so they think that they're not listening to us. And you see it all the time too, where they're not even talking to the child, they're talking to the parent, asking about the child, where it's like that child might be able to answer, but they're not given a chance.
Yeah.
And so it's like, let's give every kid a chance. Let's presume competence that they can communicate. And I'm hoping that what I'm doing there helps with that.
I mean, was this your idea with the horses, or is this something you saw somewhere else?
I was working at a clinic doing the hippotherapy. So they call it hippotherapy. It's not, hippotherapy isn't like a standalone term. It's not a therapy itself.
It's
more of a, right, you're
Yeah.
not riding a hippo. It's a tool, kind of like you might use like a trampoline to help with regulation. Getting that jumping kind of helps regulate. So you're using the horse as a tool. You're not teaching them how to ride the horse. So I started working there before I opened up my own clinic.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay, so you built a barn. But there was what, houses on the
Yep,
the
there
farm?
were 2 houses on the property, which was perfect because I just converted the little house then to my clinic. And then during like winter season when it's like super cold out, we don't use the barn. So it was perfect to have both houses on the property.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, do you live there?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So that's the 2 houses?
Yep.
Okay. But you do have a, what, Airbnb?
Yeah. Yeah. So towards the end of 2020, then I recognized that like, okay, we're not using that second house on the weekends because I only work Monday through Friday. I'm like, how can we change this? Like, how can we make more money? Because obviously owning a farm, you're always like buying more animals. So how can I generate revenue? And I started to do some research and figured out like, hey, I can turn this into an Airbnb on the weekends. So we opened up in June of 2021 and started getting bookings right away. I think it was a good time too because it was during COVID and people weren't really traveling and they wanted to get away but not have to fly
Not too far,
so we had a lot of people from Chicago and the suburbs, even people 20 minutes away.
So these are people not affiliated with the therapy?
No.
Okay,
no.
just wanting to be on a farm.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want to experience the farm life and the kids want to muck stalls and, do all that. They're like, right? They're like, can they ask, like, can we pick up more poop? I'm like, you can pick up as much poop as you want. So yeah.
Your farm, it's not just horses?
Correct. So we have horses.
It's just chickens. Tell me about the chickens.
We got chickens.
How many chickens do you have?
I always lose track of how many.
Exactly.
As long as they're producing eggs, I don't keep track. We got chickens, goats, pigs, turkeys, ducks, peacocks, and cats.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we got it all.
So is that for Elizabeth or is that for your clients?
So originally I wanted to get just a couple horses and then maybe like a goat or 2 when we first moved to the farm. And then we're like, well, we have all this space, so let's keep buying more animals. And so that's
How big's the farm?
6 acres.
Okay, so it's a 6 football fields, so pretty good size.
Yeah.
And I imagine you've got like a riding ring?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And so that's what I had built at the end of 2020 then, was like the arena with stalls for the horses.
Oh,
so.
Is it inside or outside?
Yep, inside. Yep.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Illinois.
Yep.
I mean,
you gotta have it.
You've got, what, 2 good weeks of weather?
Yeah, exactly.
So you live there?
Yes.
Is that, okay, I live on my farm. And I enjoy it. Now I've had friends that moved because I don't know, it was tough for them to separate where they live. How are you doing with that?
I kind of like that I'm working where I'm living because, I don't know, there's just like one time where like the pigs got out and my client said is like, hey, your pigs are walking around the farm. Can you go take a look at that? So like I'm there if there's any like emergency ever with any of the animals. So I think that's kind of nice that I get that opportunity. And I love working, like when I was growing up, I thought I want to work at a zoo. And here I am, like with all these animals, like it's pretty much a zoo. So I love animals, so
Okay.
it kind of helps.
So if I had a child with autism, why should I be looking at sending them and working with you?
Yeah, and I think, just with, I am really trying to delve deep into more of our nervous system and not just speech itself, but looking at the child as a whole and looking at the approach holistically, because if we're just looking at, okay, I got to treat the speech and language part, that's not enough.
Yeah.
And so we got to look at the whole child and figure out how is their nervous system? Do they feel safe with us? Is there trauma in their life? And it's therapeutic for the families too. Like parents even mention like, oh, this is like therapy for me. And I think that's important too. Like we got to also think about those caregivers. They're burnt out. How can we help support them? And I think just having that environment for them is also helpful for them.
I hadn't really thought about that. Yeah. I mean, it's got to be, it's raising kids alone is hard enough, but what the challenge is autism. Now, is that all you deal with, or do you deal into any other disabilities?
Also feeding. So I have some kids that might have difficulties with expanding their food repertoire, so they might eat a few things the whole time. And what's nice about like using the animals is we might make snacks for the animals. So like cutting
You
up
can
fruit.
eat 'em, too.
Right,
You can eat the
exactly.
animals, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Collect the chicken eggs and cook the eggs in the kitchen. Like just having, again, they don't feel like they're working. They're in this natural environment, just helping out around the farm. And then they might chew on a carrot while they're making a snack for the pigs. And so things like that where there's no pressure. This is all, we're helping the animals. This is your job. And then they start eating the food too. So
You said you rode horses, but you didn't grow up on a farm or raising animals. So, I mean, there had to be a learning curve for you too.
yeah. My husband grew up on a farm, so I got lucky on that part.
Oh, there you go.
So
Yeah.
he knew what the farm life was going to be entailing. I didn't, so I was like, oh, everything will be fine. And obviously, there's always something going on around the farm that needs fixing. But so it helped that he definitely grew up with animals and horses and knew a lot of that stuff, but then also took upon myself to just like go on Facebook groups, especially like goats. They're so susceptible to so many things. And so researching how to take care of the goats and the pigs and all that.
You don't have sheep though, right?
No.
They're a stupid animal.
No, they are
no,
stupid.
You don't want that.
I can't handle that.
So you are an author too.
Yes.
Tell me about the book.
So Utter Chaos, I wrote this.
Clever.
Thank you. I wrote it in October of 2022. And I wanted to incorporate all the animals that I use in therapy, but to have a theme that you can do hard things and to keep persevering, because everything that's in the story is pretty much everything that happens on the farm. And the farmer's always thinking like, I can do it, I can do hard things, because what we work on in therapy is hard, it's not easy. And I want them to know like, hey, you're safe, we can do this hard thing today. And so I wanted to.
I haven't read the book because it's above my level, but this is not about autism.
Correct.
Okay, so
Yeah,
this is
it's
just a farm story.
Yep, it's basically my life, and just with that theme around persevering.
Hey, how do you do this? I mean, you just seem to do stuff that you have never done before. I mean, that's so intimidating to a lot of people. I mean, you buy a farm, you start a farm, you do the speech therapy business, you do all this really without any experience, even writing a book. I mean, is that just are you stubborn or are you adventurous?
I'd say adventurous.
Would your husband say you're stubborn?
Maybe. I just don't stop. I don't know. I just always have something going on in my head of like, what's the next thing? Like, how can we keep going with the next thing? And I think with all of it, really, I never really saw like any I knew there were risks, but I was like, well, let's just try it. Like life's too short. Let's try it out. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like we'll figure it out.
That is such a great attitude. So many people, I don't know, it's almost like being taught not to in the society, and it bugs me. So that's why when I have someone like you on here, I love just highlighting that attitude that, you know what, all right, believe me, I failed so much in my life, it's not even funny, but I mean, we had a lot of fun.
Right.
As long as you learn from a failure, it's not a failure.
Right. Right. Yeah. I think that's the fear. Fear stops people.
Yeah.
And like, let's just keep trying. Yeah.
I farm. I feel good about that because I partake in feeding the world. What you do, you've got to feel good about this, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. It's really rewarding. It can be definitely tiring at times because I do all of it throughout the day. But it's definitely a rewarding experience. Not just the Tiny Voice, but the Airbnb and seeing families throughout the weekend where at first kids are kind of intimidated. They don't know what to expect, but by the end they're like running around the farm feeding all the animals. I'm like, well, you can go and do that. I'll take a break. And so, yeah, it's great.
Do you have a few, like an example, a story of one of the breakthroughs with your clients that really meant a lot to you?
I think, the thing with working with autistic kids is, again, just not, I feel like there's so limiting for opportunities for them. And I can't pinpoint one just because I work with so many, but just if even they advocated for themselves one time, like that's good. Like letting them know, like you have a voice, you have boundaries, you feel safe here. And I have so many families where they're like, they don't even want to go to somewhere like fun. They love coming to the farm. And that feels good for me because I know then like they feel safe.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of safe environments for them because there's not a lot of accommodations even in schools.
Yeah.
Schools can't even be safe now for kids. Like they have to mask, which means they have to like hide how they truly are throughout the school day, and by the time they come to me, they're just exhausted, but they know that this is a safe space that they can be exhausted. I'm not gonna put all these demands on them. So I really think that's enough for me of like, I'm a safe space for them.
Yeah. A lot of people I think are like me, and I know it's a fault and I try to work on it. I mean, I see A, I see B, and that's it. I mean, if you have a kid with autism, well, then you do this. And that's not the case with them. They just, every kid is specific on their own.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, that has to get a little frustrating too on your end too. Because I mean, once you want to fall into a groove.
Right, and that's where I feel like schools are so rigid and they aren't flexible with like being individualized to each child, because if you meet one autistic kid, you're meeting one autistic kid.
Yeah.
You're not meeting the autistic population because there is such a spectrum of skills and abilities. And so really I think I can cater to that child, and it's very child-led. Like I kind of let them lead the session. I don't come in with a lesson plan.
Really?
No, because if I'm making them do something that they aren't enjoying.
That's just you being lazy.
Right, it is. Because I'm like, I have to do all these other things around the farm. And so really having that child-led approach is really great for them, because I can help therapeutically figure out what I can work on with them, but letting them kind of lead what they want to work on. Even if they want to be on the horse for 5 minutes, sometimes like that's enough for their nervous system where it's like, okay, I need to get off, and then we do stuff around the farm. So, and that's what's great about it too.
Let's do where people can find, let's first do the therapy. Where can people find information about that? So
you can find me on my website, tinyvoicetherapy.com. I'm on Instagram, tiny_voice_therapy. I'm on Facebook, Tiny Voice Therapy Services, LLC. I think that's it for Tiny Voice.
Okay. What about the Airbnb?
So Little Cottage on the Farm is the Airbnb. So if you even just search Little Cottage on the Farm in Airbnb, I should pop up. But we're also on Instagram, Little Cottage on the Farm, and then Little Cottage on the Farm on Facebook as well.
And if somebody's wanting to check out your book?
Yeah, they can find it on my website at tinyvoicetherapy.com. They can find it on Amazon. any like websites they can find it on, but ordering directly through me is the best, really. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, not to get too sappy, but you know, my wife and I, we get to interview people. We get to get a glimpse into their life. And when we get somebody like you on there, it makes me want to be a better person. It just makes me want to go out and help other people besides myself. I look at a person like you and I see the absolute unselfishness that you guide your life through. And it's inspiring, and it just, I don't know. You make me feel bad about myself too. I mean, if you really,
sorry.
you want to take some blame on some stuff, but it's, I know you never truly will get thanked enough for what you do in your life. So let me just take this moment to say thank you for at least being on this show.
Well, thank you. I
All right.
appreciate it.
Elizabeth Nielsen, thank you very much. Everybody else, we'll catch you next time. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to explore more of our local content. You can connect with us on our social media platforms, visit our website, or download and watch the free PBS app. We can't wait to see you next time on A Shot of Ag.